Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Yeah Yucca. I am going to go over some of these issues that Carnivore can help with, as well as a lot of tips to help you live a more carnivorous lifestyle. Now, my tips aren't going to be how to live full-on carnivore, but I just wanted to give out some tips and tricks to help you just live a more carnivorous lifestyle, eat more meat, because meat is so nutrient dense, and even if you aren't full on carnivore, including more meat into your daily diet will help you with your health. And so some of the official top 5 ailments that full on carnivore does help with, and I'm going to share these with you today in hopes to inspire some of you to include more meat into your daily life. So these top 5 ailments are mental health. I have personally experienced it helped me with my mental health as far as with depression, mental clarity. It got rid of my brain fog, and I'm just able to be more quick with my thoughts and able to maintain balanced emotions. And the other thing that it helps with is inflammation and arthritis. So if you have inflammatory pain in your joints, in your knees, elbows, back, wherever, I highly recommend including more meat into your diet and looking into living a more carnivorous way of eating, because it does help reduce inflammation. And another thing it helps with is fat loss, not weight loss. Notice I didn't say weight loss because both fat and muscle have weight to them. So it helps with specifically fat loss, and it helps with muscle gaining. Another big thing that it really helps with is autoimmune disease. So if you are somebody you know is suffering from autoimmune issues, and there are so many out there that people are struggling with that they don't even know that they're struggling with. And it's something that doctors don't really bring up a lot either. So if you're suffering from autoimmune issues, I highly recommend trying to include more meat into your daily life. And last but not least is skin problems. I have seen Carnivore help so many people with their skin issues, rosacea, vitiligo, and all sorts of things that it just literally makes it just disappear from your skin. And so those are the top 5 ailments that Carnivore can help you with. And so some of these tips and tricks that I'm going to go over are just an easy way for you to include more meat into your daily diet. And if you are interested in checking out eating more meat, I highly recommend going to my Instagram, Eat Meat Queen. I have a lot of fun recipes and tips on there if you are into cooking. So there's so many carnivore recipes out there nowadays. You can also go to carnivore.diet. A lot of my recipes are on there, as well as so many other amazing, great carnivore chefs that have put together fun recipes of meals that you thought you couldn't eat. And if you're not going to be fully 100% carnivore, you can easily add some whatever kind of vegetables or fruits or anything you want to it. Especially one of my favorites is a pizza. So it's a meat-based crust. You bake the crust like a pizza crust, like you normally would, with ground beef or ground chicken or any kind of ground meat. I like to add eggs and seasonings, and you press it out and you bake it like a pizza crust. And then you put all your favorite toppings on there. You can put your marinara, Alfredo, whatever kind of sauce you want, or no sauce, extra cheese, and any kind of toppings that you love to have on your pizza, and you put it back in the oven until the cheese is all melted, and then you enjoy it just like a regular pizza. It is so good. That is definitely one of my favorite animal-based slash carnivore recipes to enjoy, and it always wows people when I make it for them. And it is not like regular pizza where you can just eat the whole thing. At least I can eat a whole bunch of regular pizza, or even like a gluten-free pizza. I can put down a lot of pizza. So with this pizza, you get satiated because it is so much protein, so much healthy fats, and so many nutrients that you literally cannot eat the whole thing, even though you want to. But I definitely recommend, if you do like cooking, checking out some of my recipes and all the other recipes out there online. There is just so much information on carnivore that there wasn't when I first started back in 2017. So definitely look into those recipes. A couple other few easy, more carnivorous ways to eat and include more meat in your diet is eating bacon and eggs for breakfast or steak and eggs. Steak and eggs diet was actually a thing back in the days. It was the bodybuilder diet, and that's what they ate, steak and eggs all the time. Can you believe it? You got to eat muscle if you want to grow muscle. Wow, I would have never thought of that. It's so funny that this stuff is so simple, but we're taught the complete opposite. So we think that we have to have carbs and all these things. And although I'm not saying carbs are necessarily a bad thing, some people just can't handle them or just can't control how much to eat. And so it gets a little tricky with, especially when you have autoimmune issues. So those are just some ideas of ways that you can include more meat into your diet. And if you are wanting to be more carnivorous, like 80 to 90% eating more meat, a lot of people think that you have to cut out the sides and just eat the regular portion of meat that you have on your plate. Well, that's not really the case. A lot of people will cut the sides out, but they'll still only be eating a 6-ounce serving of steak. And you have to replace the vegetables and other sides with more meat, or at least eggs or chicken or any kind of meat, and you have to replace that because you will starve. That is 6 ounces of meat is not enough to eat. And I just want to encourage all of y'all to go for the big steak at the restaurant. If you are not going to be getting any sides, don't hesitate to get that 12-ounce or even 16-ounce steak. And remember, if there's a bone in there, those bones do have weight, and they do include that on the menu. So if you see a 24-ounce bone-in ribeye, that is going to be definitely not 24 ounces of meat. So that's something else to be a little bit aware of when you do go out to eat or when you're buying your meat. Bones do have weight, and just remember that when you order. So I'm currently eating about a 90 to 95% carnivorous lifestyle. Some days I do eat strict 100% carnivore. Some days I'm closer to 90%. And that has been doing really good for me. I do try to not have a lot of vegetables or produce in my house in general. Most of the time, it's literally just meat and a little bit of dairy, and definitely I have a lot of eggs always in stock at my house. So, some of my favorite dishes to do with eggs are just some fried eggs, or I like to do some little pickled eggs, or I like to blend in eggs with my coffee, or I will blend in eggs with Equip Foods beef protein. That stuff is awesome. Definitely check them out. They have so many amazing products. I love the Equip beef protein. The vanilla flavor is my favorite. And their vanilla collagen that just came out not too long ago, also, it's amazing. And it's a slightly different vanilla flavor than the beef protein. I don't know if it's because there's not the beef protein in there or what, but I'm a vanilla girl. So their vanilla collagen and beef protein powder is amazing. If you have a sensitivity to whey protein and don't know where to turn to, definitely check out Equip Foods vanilla protein. It is formulated by Dr. Anthony Gustin. He's a really great guy located in Austin, Texas, and that company is amazing. That stuff is delicious. So I will blend that up for a quick protein drink. I'll just blend that up with water, the Equip beef protein, and the collagen, a scoop of each, as well as an egg. And I'll just blend that up for an amazing, delicious, creamy, easy to drink protein drink after workout, or if I'm doing a liquid fast or anything like that. It's just a quick meal. If you do a scoop of the beef protein and a scoop of the collagen protein, that's already, I think, 35 grams of protein. And then I have medium eggs, so they're about 5 grams of protein. And all of it is highly digestible. Your body's going to absorb all that protein and nutrients immediately and use it right up. So it's not the same as pea protein or all these other plant-based proteins because your body can't really absorb all those nutrients and protein. So with the beef protein, collagen, and egg, your body absorbs all that stuff right up. So that's a 40-gram of protein drink. So that is a meal, liquid meal for sure. Ensure has nothing on that. And so If you are wanting to eat like about 90+% carnivore, I do recommend doing at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So let's say if you weigh 150 pounds, definitely eat 150 grams of protein, of animal-based protein, because remember, plant-based protein is not as absorbable as animal-based protein. So, and with animal-based protein, it's actually a complete protein. You get all your amino acids, and guess what? It's also in better ratios, because if you have too much of one amino acid compared to another, your body can actually not absorb either of those. So the proper balance of amino acids is actually quite important, which a lot of these plant-based pushers do not realize this, and they're just counting the numbers on the back of the package, and that is not really the whole story. So it's really important to be aware of not just the numbers on the back of the package, but the ingredients, where it comes from, how it's sourced, and the amounts of amino acids in there, and all of that stuff. Like, you can't just look at the nutrition facts. It actually it goes a lot deeper than that, if you can't imagine. So another tip is to be sure that you're taking your electrolytes. With any low carb diet, it is harder for your body to hold on to electrolytes. I like to use Redmond Real Salt. This stuff is so good. It actually tastes good. And if you think salt doesn't have a flavor, they have a little sample pack that you can get, and they have a little sea salt packet and the Redmond salt packet. And you taste test them each, and you can definitely tell the Redmond salt is not as it has more minerals in it. So it has a nicer flavor. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's not as salty and it is super delicious. So I take about a half a teaspoon of that every day, first thing in the morning. Sometimes I'll take it twice a day, especially if I'm fasting. I will take it even more. I'll take it about 3 times a day. And it's always good to add a little pinch of salt to your water. You can never get too many minerals and electrolytes, and if you do, your body just pees them out. So no worries on consuming too much salt, and don't be afraid to liberally salt your food. I will say with the Redmond salt, you do need to add more salt to be able to taste it. And that's a good thing if you are eating this way or wanting to eat this way, because you want to make sure that you get your salt. That is one thing that I was not aware of when I first started carnivore, and I was drinking like a gallon and a half of water a day. And if you don't know that, that is too much water. You do not need to be chugging gallons and gallons of water a day. Even a gallon might even be too much for some people, because your body will not absorb any electrolytes if you're just drinking plain water. You have to mineralize your water, and that is how your body gets hydrated, is through the minerals, not actually the water, which is not what we're taught. We're taught to drink 8 glasses of water a day, and that doesn't matter what size person you are, what activity level you have, or this and that. They just say, oh, everybody drinks 8 gallons or 8 cups of water every single day. It doesn't matter who you are or what you do or what you look like, which I think is not a very good recommendation. I don't really track how much water I drink. I would say it'd be close to half to 3/4 of a gallon at the most. And I don't really get too thirsty very often, and I want to attribute it to that Redmond Real Salt, because it has so many minerals, and one of my favorite things about that company is that they are based in America. They have salt mines in Utah that I would love to go visit sometime, and I think that's great. It's so good to support local businesses in America, so you don't have to worry about where it's imported from, and you don't have to worry about any of that crazy stuff. It's made in America, mined in America, very minimally processed, and super clean and delicious. So that is my favorite form of electrolytes. Sometimes I will get the Keto Chow electrolyte drops, but honestly, I haven't bought those in so long. I've been doing so good with the Redmond Real Salt, And it's really hard to find electrolytes, especially if you want to get like the flavored ones. It's really hard to find them without citric acid. Citric acid is made from mold. So it's not really an ideal ingredient that you want to be including in your life. A lot of people actually have sensitivity to mold and don't even realize it. They just get used to their symptoms, and then over time they get a lot worse. And so citric acid is something that I've been trying to avoid for quite some time now. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I won't buy things with citric acid here and there because I'm a sucker for new products sometimes. But I will try to make sure that citric acid is actually at the bottom of the list if I am buying something with it, so I know it's not too much, because a lot of these flavored drinks and supplements and things like that will have citric acid and it's like at the top of the list. So I really don't want anything with too much of that. And even better if you can find stuff with non-GMO citric acid, so it's at least a little bit cleaner. I know Redmond Real Salts, they have an electrolyte flavored drink mixes and they use non-GMO citric acid. So props on them for at least using a non-GMO version of that. But don't be afraid of salt. I know doctors and nutritionists tell you to avoid salt, but they're talking about table salt, which is nutritionally void of everything. And it is not really good for you. And then they add the iodide back in. And so it's highly processed. And a lot of times they have preservatives in them, even because I don't know why, other than that they want to see you sick. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I like to order the Redmond Real Salt in a huge 25-pound bag, or they have a 10-pound bucket. Or if you have a natural grocers in your area, I know they're nationwide in America. Natural grocers actually has it in their bulk section, so you can just get like a little bag of it. And I don't remember how much it is, but it's just a few bucks for a little bag of that. So definitely be on the lookout for Redmond Real Salt. That stuff is amazing. So I want to give y'all a way to know what to put on your plate and how much meat do you need to put on your plate, how much of other things that you can have to just be a little bit healthier and be a little bit more carnivorous. I like to say 10 to 20% on your sides, or about 80 to 90% meat. And you can actually work your way up to this. I actually recommend to work your way up to eating more meat and slowly just cut out little by little the sides. Let's say you usually have a cup of rice with your meal. Well, maybe one day you'll do half a cup of rice or even 3/4 cups of rice if you want. The benefits of slowly incorporating more meat and slowly reducing all the other things on your plate is to avoid oxalate dumping. So a lot of these so-called health foods actually are high in oxalates. And what are oxalates? Oxalates are actually a plant's defense mechanism. Yes, you heard that right. Plants have defense mechanisms. Plants are actually living things, no matter what the vegans tell you. And so when these plants start to get eaten up, chewed, or chopped up, I don't know the scientific way of explaining it, but they make all these chemical changes and are able to produce oxalates. And if you look at oxalates of certain foods under a microscope, the one that I remember the most is kiwi. And kiwi, it's literally just like a bunch of spikes, and so that actually causes inflammation in some of our bodies, especially if you have autoimmune issues. You are more sensitive to oxalates, which is why I think I have autoimmune issues. I've never gotten it tested, but I know I'm sensitive to oxalates because when I eat foods high in oxalates, my joint pain comes back, especially if I eat a lot of it. And some of the foods, and I'm going to break some of y'all's hearts telling y'all some of these foods that are high in oxalates, but here it goes. Chocolate, almonds, brown rice, beets, even goji berries. Those, it- I don't know if did I say spinach? Spinach. Also, which I love all those foods. Like, I actually like the taste of all those foods. Obviously, chocolate is delicious, but chocolate is one that I can really tell the next day my joint pain comes back. In my lower back, I get joint pain in my knees as well. And almonds. If I eat too many almonds, a lot of those keto and low carb treats are based with almonds. And it's almond butter and ground up almonds and all this stuff because they need something to hold in that shape or hold the collagen or hold all whatever else is in those bars. So almonds is usually at the top of the list of those things. So it's really hard for me to find like just little junk food kind of stuff like that because it's full of almonds and everything is chocolate flavored. I will say a little loophole that I found with the chocolate is doing white chocolate. So the oxalates is in the cacao powder part. So the fiber of chocolate is where the oxalates are, but there are no oxalates in cacao butter. So a lot of the white chocolate is made with, whole milk powder or, milk and the cacao butter and whatever sweetener. The white chocolate that I like to get is from Chalk Zero. I am not an affiliate with them yet, but I just love their stuff. They only sweeten with monk fruit, and it's not the monk fruit sugar alcohol blend, which sugar alcohols you do have to be careful with a lot because they actually have a lot of carbs in them, and I don't count carbs. I don't count net carbs, which is how they try to get you in their low carb count in a lot of these products, especially keto and sugar free products. So I count whole carbs. I just feel like that's a more honest way to count your carbs because the carb count can get really high with sugar alcohol products. And for me, also, it just causes some distress in my stomach and gets a little bubbly in there. So I try to avoid the sugar alcohols as much as possible. Again, I'm not perfect and I will get some Rebel ice cream here and there, which if you haven't tried that, that stuff is pretty yummy as well. So that is my loophole that I have found with chocolate. I just try to get some of the white chocolate stuff from Chalk Zero. It's so good. And, if it's a good quality, you'll still have that slight chocolate flavor in there and I just love it. It's so yummy. And so with the spinach, even though I love spinach, like I love cream spinach, I try not to consume it that much or just have a bite of something with it. And I just don't eat it. Brown rice, I don't really like brown rice anyways. I do prefer white rice over brown rice if I'm going to eat it, which is lower in oxalates. So you can easily look up high oxalate lists. Dr. Sally K. Norton is a really great advocate on this. She has so much data and information on oxalates if you want to check her out. I really like her stuff. And I think low oxalates just in general is good for everybody because no matter where your health stands, it does cause inflammations. I mean, it is a plant's defense mechanism. They're fighting to help prevent you from continue eating them. So definitely look into oxalates if you are interested in that, or if you are having some sort of inflammation issues that you think you're eating everything right, definitely look into it because you might be eating some foods that are actually high in oxalates. And, even if you replace them with something else that's a lower oxalate food, that's definitely a way to try to go. So I highly recommend just cutting eat a little bit. Like if you eat like I was saying earlier, you eat a cup of rice, cut it down to a quarter cup of rice or buy a quarter cup to half cup and all that. But add a couple more ounces of meat, whatever meat you're eating, more chicken, more beef. I will say that try not to eat too many lean meats because the fat in the meat is really important too. So don't take that skin off the chicken. That's my favorite part is the chicken skin. And if you haven't tried chicken skin chips, you're missing out on life. You have no idea. Chicken skin chips are one of the greatest inventions ever made. So definitely recommend looking up a recipe for that. And if you have a local chicken supplier, definitely ask them if they can get you a hookup with just chicken skins. Because when I make those and share those, people are just like head over heels for that stuff, and they don't stop asking me for it because it is that good. And so if you do eat a lot of meat, lean meat, add some butter to it or cook it in tallow or put a little drizzle of some pressed olive oil as well. All those fats are super healthy, or even just cutting up some beef fat and cooking it in the pan with your meat as well. And you'll be surprised at how good it is. And the longer you eat this way, the more you're going to crave the meat and the fat, and your body will naturally tell you if you want more fat. Once your body gets accustomed to eating this way, your body will naturally tell you, like, hey, I want a fatty steak today, please feed me some fat. Or I want a big old chunk of butter on my plate, please. Or I want to take a whole bite of butter. Which that is fun also. And when you go out to eat, usually they have real butter and you can just ask them for a side of butter, especially steakhouses. They always have real butter. So it's really easy to just add a side of butter to your meat if you're craving some fattier meat that day or just some more fat for that day. So don't be afraid of the fat. Don't be afraid of the skin. Chicken thighs and chicken legs and chicken wings, especially, are your friends. I promise they will not hurt you. They will only love you and nourish your body, as well as that fatty steak. And I I like a good burger. I don't like it super fatty. A lot of people do like it super duper fatty and they like the wagyu, but for me it's just too much. Like all that fat just comes out of the burger when you cook it. I like my burgers on a little bit more well side. I don't really like them too pink, but my steaks, I like them medium rare. So, or sometimes rare if I'm feeling a little frisky. But the burgers, I like them a little bit more well done. I like them crispy on the outside. And when they're really high in fat, just all that fat just comes out. So 85-15 is a really good ratio for me on ground beef. I get Longhorn ground beef from a local rancher, which is actually 90-10. So I'll just add a little bit of tallow to that, like about 1 ounce per pound, and that brings it down to a good ratio when I make my little burger patties. And burgers is one of my favorite meals. I could literally just eat burger patties with some good old organic American cheese on top every single day. And I do. I pretty much eat burger patties with cheese every day, at least once a day. And it is one of my favorite meals, just salt and pepper. And I love mayo too. I'm a mayo girl. And if you don't know, mayo in the store is trash. I have to make my own homemade mayo. There are a few avocado oil mayo brands in the store, but they are way too expensive for my taste. And I would rather just buy a bottle of avocado oil, which is like the same price as the avocado oil mayo, but it's way more oil, so you can make way more mayo. And so I like to make it that way at home. And you do want to be careful with avocado oil because it can be fake avocado oil and it can be like soybean oil and things like that. So you do want to look into where they get their avocado oil from or make sure it's a brand that you fully trust. So I like to have my burgers plain with just meat and cheese, or I like to dip them in mayo. And if I am in a baking mood, I will make a huge loaf of egg white bread inspired by Maria Emmerich. She is a sweet, sweet woman who has some of the most amazing carnivore recipes. Like, she is a carnivore queen, and I adore all her recipes and her kids and her family. They are so sweet and fun. So definitely look up her egg white loaf recipe bread because I make that all the time. And I promise you, it is worth investing in that egg white powder to make that bread because I like to have that bread on hand all the time. It is like Wonder Bread is what I think what she calls it. It's like just like straight up white bread. And if you are someone who loves white bread like I used to, like I'm a sandwich girl. I could eat sandwiches all the time too. That's another meal that I could eat regularly is sandwiches. And I'm a good sandwich maker, and that white bread was always my favorite. So soft and fluffy and delicious, and you can just stack it with meat and cheese and glob on the mayo on both sides. So I definitely recommend if you are feeling adventurous, definitely check out that recipe and have some bread made. And it's strictly egg whites. It's fresh egg whites with egg white powder. And that's basically the majority of the recipe. I just use agave. I don't really use allulose in my house. And I don't have any issues with agave if I just use a teeny tiny amount of it, which it's like not even a tablespoon that I put in the recipe for that bread. And it's literally a whole loaf of bread. So those are two of my favorite things that I like to have on hand at all times: burger meat, organic American cheese, that egg white bread, and I am set. You can just leave me alone for a week or so. But definitely just slowly cutting out all the sides on your plate, but remember to add more meat. And it can be the same amount. If you reduce it by 2 ounces of rice or whatever vegetables, you can increase it by 2 ounces of meat. And you'll just slowly keep adding more and more meat to your plate. And it is good to keep up and track how many grams of meat you're eating if you're trying to eat over 90% meat. But at first, I wouldn't be too hard on it, especially if you're just slowly increasing the meat and decreasing the sides. Your body will naturally regulate itself. And if you're still hungry after you're done eating, try not to eat more of the sides. Try to eat more meat, because that is what's going to truly satiate your body, truly give you the highly absorbable nutrients, and truly just leave you satisfied in the end. And it's going to help you prevent cravings. I promise you will have less sugar cravings if you try to include more meat into your diet, especially red meat. That is the most nutrient dense food on earth. And I don't care what anybody says, it's a fact. So definitely try to include more red meat in your diet. Don't be scared of what we've been taught our whole lives. It's all a lie, if you can believe it. I do want to recommend that you look into at least changing your sides to lower carb sides, or at least whole food sides. Try not to get too many processed foods. I know it's really hard out there because sometimes the processed foods is cheaper than buying the whole foods, but be on the lookout for sales at your grocery store. If your grocery store has an app, download it. I promise you, you will find deals and you'll be able to get discounts. My HEB, sometimes they'll send me like a $5 off of your $50 whole grocery order, no matter what you buy. And it's things like that that really help out every now and then. Or if you can see if they have meat on sale, or they'll have coupons for meat, or, even the produce stuff, like you buy one, get one free, and really cool things like that. And there's always ways that you can store your food. You can prepare it ahead of time, freeze it, and things like that. So having a deep freezer is a really, really valuable thing as well, especially if you want to stock up on meat, even more especially if you want to support a local rancher, because the local ranchers, you get more bang for your buck the more meat you get. And I promise you, if you create a good friendship and a relationship with your local rancher, they're eventually going to hook you up and give you some deals here and there. Or, you can let them know, like, hey, if you ever have any meats you're trying to get rid of, like, I'm willing to work a deal. And that's what I think is really important, to not stress about over the cuts of meat. I usually go for more economical cuts, but I'm open to getting all the different cuts, because eating nose to tail is really important. And cows are not just 100% ribeyes. Cows are not just 100% T-bone steaks. Cows are not 100% tenderloin. There's a different balance to all these different cuts in the cow. And when you're supporting local, it's really important to remember that your rancher is trying to sell all these parts of the cows, not just the tenderloin, not just the steaks and all that stuff. So when you support them in that way, it does make their job a little bit easier. And ordering more from them, you can get a way better deal. So if you have the space, like a freezer in your house, to be able to store all that meat, then you can also reap the benefits of saving on meat. And a lot of times, at least here in Texas, the meat is cheaper to buy locally than to get it in the store, especially if you're wanting to get grass-fed, grass-finished. And if you don't care about grass-finished beef, It's even cheaper if it's grass fed. A lot of times it is grass fed when you get from a local rancher, but they'll finish it off with grain. And so that meat actually comes out cheaper and it's more fatty. So if you do like fattier meat, that's a bonus there. So definitely recommend checking out, looking into getting a local rancher. I'll put the links down below where you can find some ranchers in your area all across the US. But yeah, just substituting your sides to more lower carb or whole foods at least will make a big difference in your life, as well as avoiding seed oils. Seed oils, they are a growing trend to be anti-seed oil right now, and for good reason too. They cause inflammation, they're highly processed, and they're literally garbage. So I recommend cooking with beef tallow, butter, olive oil. I like to get a locally sourced olive oil. I've met the owner before years ago, so I know it's coming from a family that I can trust, and it's cold pressed, and it is delicious. It is Texas Olive Ranch. I'm not an affiliate for them or anything, but their stuff is literally the best olive oil that I have ever had, and it tastes delicious. And real olive oil actually has a smoke point of 350 degrees. So if you're baking at 350 degrees, you can actually use olive oil if it's good quality. So don't be afraid to cook with olive oil, or if you're just wanting to add a little bit of fat, healthy fat to your meal, you can just drizzle a little bit on top of your plate when it's done. So don't be afraid of the fats, folks. And here is a little list for y'all on what I covered today. I know I was kind of a little bit all over the place. I'm trying to figure out the format of how I'm going to do these videos. And the last video, I tried to cover a couple topics and it was just too much. I just have so much that I want to talk about. And so I'm thinking of doing just one topic per video if it's just going to be me talking, because one topic, it just like has so many little details and I just like to get into all the little details. I like to dive all the way deep in there and give you as much information as I possibly can. So the tips and tricks I went over today are to slowly cut out your sides and add more meat as you're cutting those sides out. And for those sides, try to switch to low carb or at least whole foods if you can. I know grabbing that bag of sweet potato wedges or the processed macaroni box is really easy to do sometimes, but it's actually not that much harder to find a whole foods version of it or make it from scratch at home, especially because, and it's better because you have more control of the ingredients in there and where you're sourcing those ingredients. So also salt. Don't forget your salt. Don't be scared of salt. Salt is your friend. Salt loves you, and salt wants you to love salt. So salt your food. Take some salt, add it to your water, add it to your desserts, add it to your fruit, add it to your coffee, especially because coffee can be dehydrating. And don't be afraid of salt. Salt is your friend, I promise. It loves you. And a good rule of thumb, if you want to know how much meat you should be eating, 1 gram per pound of body weight is key. So I personally, I try to just, I don't count my amounts of grams that I eat. I have been eating various ways throughout my cycle and have been trying to get in a routine of exactly how much to eat at certain times of the month. But I would say I try to eat about 1.5 pounds to 2 pounds of meat per day. And that is me living a 90 to 95% carnivorous lifestyle. So if you are trying to do the 100% carnivore, 2 pounds of meat is usually the average per person. And that is like pretty good for across the board, no matter what size you are. If you are a way bigger person and you're very highly active, like I mean bigger, like muscular and tall, I definitely recommend trying to eat even more than 2 pounds a day. And if you're struggling eating enough, you can break up your meals into smaller meals and multiple meals across the day. So, like, let's say you're trying to eat 2 meals a day, but you can't eat enough in those 2 meals. Try to split it up into 3 to 4 meals, because the more often you eat during the day, the more likely you're going to activate the ghrelin hormone, which is the hunger hormone signal in your body, and that will make you want, your body will actually be more hungry. So if you're struggling eating enough, protein in your day, try to do multiple small meals at first, and then you can eventually, once your body gets accustomed to eating enough food in the day, then you can try to revert back to the 3 meals and then the 2 meals. And if you want to do a 1 meal a day, you can do that. But that is a tip if you're struggling eating enough during the day. I had to actually do that at first when I got back into carnivore. So I was doing 3 meals a day. And then now I do about 2 to 1 meal a day, depending on the time of the month. So, and if you are an adventurous person and you love to cook and you like to look up recipes, I highly recommend you look up some recipes because there is so much information out there, so many good recipes out there. I post recipes regularly on my Instagram and on carnivore.diet. There are so many recipes, and Maria Emmerich is probably one of my favorites to look up for carnivore recipes. She also has keto recipes. Oh, and my friend Courtney Luna, she's actually working on her cookbook right now. So I definitely recommend checking her stuff out. She is so funny. Like, I love watching her stuff, and she's so real and she keeps things honest, and I love her stuff. So definitely check out those people if you like to cook, because and there's just so much stuff out there, and like even desserts, carnivore desserts, and I love all that stuff, and I love making new recipes for y'all. So check out my Instagram for sure at Eat Me Queen if you want to look at some of my recipes and my post. And I just want to give a huge thanks to my sponsor, Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. They have this amazing subscription service, Wolfpack. I love the Wolfpack. I'm actually about to upgrade to the next level because I just want to get more and better stuff in my pack. I'm on the little lone wolf right now, so I'm about to level up to the next one. But they are a really great company, really great people working over there. Without them, I would not have started this show. They are my sponsor of the show. So if you guys want to support me, definitely support them over here. Their link is down below for my Wolfpack referral, and it is a subscription service where you just sign up on whatever size you want, and you get gold and silver delivered to your house on a monthly basis. Like, stacking gold and silver could not be made any easier with this wolf pack, and it's something that I've not seen anybody else do. So it's a really one of a kind special thing that you can do to stack gold and silver. So definitely be sure to check them out. And I appreciate y'all so much. Like, I really just want to say thank you for supporting me on this journey, and using any of my links also is a big support as well. So I just want to say thank you, and I love you guys, and I'll see y'all next time.